We packed our whole life, drove to a border with no guarantee. We rented out our house, gave away half our furniture. Back in my whole life here, Selena, so I can come work in house. So I cannot make it to the call. Drove to a border with no guarantee that we were going to be able to get across. We had no backup plan, no plan B. Literally, we burned all the boats. But I want to share this story with you because maybe you're at a border right now in your life and you have to be able to get through it. I want to walk you through exactly what happened that day because I feel like a lot of you are probably at your own version of a border. You just haven't driven up to it yet. Now, let me back up and tell you how we actually got here. I was running the top Hyundai dealership in Western Canada. I was a sales manager. I was the guy that everybody looked up to. I closed all the deals. I trained the staff. I was an inspiration. I was pouring into people. I was motivating people. I was just operating at a high frequency and I was trying my best to just continue to grow. But I felt stuck and I had just bought my forever home. I bought an $850,000 house. Okay, I just got married and we had our firstborn child on the way. On paper, it looked like I was living the best life you could possibly imagine. But I felt like there was something missing in my life. I don't know exactly what it was. You probably had that feeling before where you know that you're meant for more and you're like, you're not quite where you want to be and you want to have more impact, you want to have more influence, and you just want to be around some good, like-minded people that are going to just push you to be the best version of yourself. So I decided to go down to Scottsdale, Arizona for an Andy Elliott event. It was a seminar. And I spent $2,000 on a VIP ticket. So nothing crazy. I had to fly down. I paid for the hotel. And I came down to this event. And I remember there was one thing specifically that really spoke to me. And it spoke to me because it was speaking to me exactly where I was at. And it was called the Golden Handcuffs. It was actually Jacqueline Elliott, who's Andy's wife, who actually said that in her speech. She said, you're doing better than most and you have the golden handcuffs. And this really hit me. I remember I went back home and I just realized like, I'm doing better than most. I got these golden handcuffs on where like my heart was not in the automotive industry. My heart was not in selling cars. Like that's not all I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Yeah, it got me to a good position where I was able to buy an $850,000 house, pay for a beautiful wedding in Canmore, Alberta. You guys can look it up. It's freaking beautiful. But I still wasn't content. I wasn't satisfied. I was blissfully unsatisfied. If you've ever heard that term, Ed Milet talks about it a lot. But it's where you get to a certain point where you're doing good and you're happy, but like there's another level. There's another level, but it's not always that easy to get to that other level. Now, even just going to that event, it sparked something in me because I knew that I could do more. I knew that I could do more. So I went on this journey. I went on this journey because I wanted to work for the Elliott Group, honestly. They got me super excited about coaching and about changing people's lives because that's something I always wanted to do. And that's something I was always naturally gifted at because I was always pouring into people, motivating people, inspiring them. And I started this journey. And this journey was I got to figure out how to get a TN work visa to come down and work for the Elliott Group in person. And that already came into my mind right after the seminar. Now, I was already looking into, okay, how can I get a TN work visa so I can come down to Arizona and work for Andy Elliott and be a part of the Elliott Group and be a part of this mission of changing people's lives and helping people just operate in the highest frequency possible that they can operate in. And so I went down this path, right? And the path started with me making some uncomfortable decisions. And I had to make a conscious decision to actually walk away from my job. My job where I was making almost $300,000 a year. I had a demo car paid for. My gas was paid for. My insurance was paid for. I was living a very comfortable life. I was probably working 40 to 45 hours a week as a sales manager. I got lots of time off. It was getting to the point where it was very, very comfortable. But I knew I wanted more, and the only way I was going to get more was to make an uncomfortable decision. So what I did was I left on good terms from my company because I always operated with integrity there. That never changed. What happened was is I put in my 2 weeks notice. I let them know exactly what was going on. They didn't want me to tell the sales staff because the whole automotive industry, there's a lot of reasons behind that. So I didn't tell anybody until the last day where I was going to run the meeting. For every Friday, I ran a sales meeting, and I always did that. And so I came to the sales meeting, and I just remember there was this kind of liberating feeling because I knew I was leaving, and that I was leaving my old life behind so that I could chase this bigger, better, more influential, more impactful version of myself. But I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and it was going to be a journey because I was just embarking on this new journey. And so I went to the meeting, and I remember I just went to the whiteboard, and I just drew a big heart on the whiteboard, and everybody just looked and they were confused. And I said, guys, today we have a special meeting. And I feel like everybody's heart dropped because they knew what was happening. And I just started going into it. I just had a speech prepared, and I started explaining to them how much I love everybody, how much I appreciate everybody, and how much this dealership, this company, the people around me, how much of an impact they had on my growth as an individual. And they prepared me for this next step that I was going into. I had even wrote handwritten letters to every single manager, the general manager, all the salespeople, handwritten letters with personal ties to experiences that I've had with them, just sharing so much gratitude that I had in my heart, right? And I gave it all to them that day. And it was just I just left on such good terms that I could ask them for anything. And sure enough, I did have to ask the general manager for some employee letters and some things that he had to help me actually to get my TN work visa to come down here. So it actually all intertwined. And that's why you never want to burn any bridges with people that you're with, right? That's one takeaway I want to give you just from that experience. I remember even the general manager, he came in and he just spoke so highly of me in front of everybody. And he was just thanking me for the time that I spent with the team, with the company, everything that I did for them. And then even at the end, the salespeople, everybody went to the gong because we would hit the gong when somebody would purchase a car. And we'd hit the gong and he yelled out, "Congratulations, Denny, on your freaking brand new life." Is basically what he said. And then I just embarked on this journey. And it was super exciting for me, but guess what? It was uncomfortable. I had to make that difficult decision. And right after that, we started on our journey. And that journey was that I was going to do whatever it took to go down and be with my spiritual family and work for the Elliott Group to be a part of this mission of changing people's lives. And I remember I rented out my house in Chestermere even before knowing I was going to be able to get across the border. So this is how much faith and courage that I had. I rented out my house. We packed up all our stuff. We got rid of half of our furniture, sold a bunch of stuff, and we drove all our stuff to Surrey, British Columbia, okay? Because that's where my wife's family is from. Moved all our stuff there and rented out my house even before I went across the border. Packed my car full of stuff, and then I drove by myself to the border. There was no backup plan. All boats were burned. They're gone. There was no turning back. Now, I remember that day so vividly. I pulled up 6 o'clock in the morning, very strategically, because I knew that that place is usually super busy. I got there at 6 a.m. As soon as I pull up, the border agent waves me down. He tells me to go park. What does he say to me? He says, "Hey, what are you here for?" I'm like, "Well, I'm here to get my TN work visa." He looks at me and he says, "Oh man, most people don't get that." And I'm like, "Okay, here's the first test," right? I look at him and say, "Well," I'm like, "You know what? I'm not most people. So I'm sure I'm going to get it, but I appreciate you, man." You know, he's like, "Yeah, no, that's cool." And we just keep it moving. But that was the first test, right? Are they gonna test me to the point where I'm going to be thinking like, oh man, what am I doing? Where I'm going to get nervous? No, of course not, because I had so much faith. I had so much conviction and confidence with the decision that I had already made that I was going to get across the border. So I go in and I come up to the front. I start talking to the guy. And right away, he's asking me what I'm there for. I tell him, right, I'm here to get my TN visa. He's looking at me. He's like, well, it's 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Like, why are you doing this at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday? I'm like, well, I have a long drive. I'm like, I'm driving all the way down to Arizona. I'm like, so yeah, the earlier I can leave, the better. And Sunday it's not busy, so I just thought this would be the best time. He's like, okay. And then he's looking at me like he's just trying to find a chink in my armor. He's trying to find like, okay, what is this guy lying about? What, like, well, why is he doing this? Because that visa is highly scrutinized. And they're right, a lot of people get denied. And so he's asking me, he's like, well, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, so what if I need to call your CEO? How am I supposed to get a hold of them? And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, I can give you her number right here. Yeah, I pulled out my phone. I'm like, yeah, I'll give you her number. You can call her. I'm like, she knows I'm crossing the border right now. So she'll answer any of your questions, man. You can call her right now. Called his bluff. Guess what? He didn't call her, right? Went, sat down, waited probably, I don't know, 30 to 35 minutes, got up again. Then there's two of them. They start grilling me, asking me questions. Okay, like how does your background qualify for this position with this company? And they're asking me these questions as if I'm gonna slip up, because I can tell the way they're interrogating me, it's very intentional, right? To see if I get nervous, to see if I lie, to see if I'm sweating, whatever, right? To see if I'm gonna break. And I explain everything. And I explain my qualifications. I explain what the company does. I remember they grilled me to the point where it's like, they thought maybe they would have something, but I just had so much faith and so much confidence with how I was speaking, and I just knew I was going to get across the border, that I had this like unshakable level of confidence about me. And eventually I had them laughing. They're talking about some type of basketball game and this and that because they saw how freaking tall I was. And they eventually it was like, okay, well, this guy's getting through. It's just a matter of time. We're just getting all the paperwork done. All good, man. Go have a seat. And I'm sitting there waiting for them. Come to the front. The guy stamps the paperwork. I got to sign a couple things. He gives me the paperwork, and I'm on my way. The most liberating feeling when I'm in that car driving across the border. What's up, fam? I'm on my way. Look at this. Car full of stuff. Driving from Canada all the way to Fountain Hills, Arizona. To be with my chosen family. To be with my spiritual family. And I can't even explain to you guys this feeling. Crossing the border, I packed up all my shit. I moved my family's stuff to British Columbia, to my wife's family's house. And there's no guarantees I was gonna get across the border, this and that. But guess what, man? God's timing, and you know, God is looking out for me. I just knew that God opened up this door, and I knew that God wanted me down there, and I knew that the Elliott Group deserved to have an absolute animal like myself down there impacting people's lives. Because of everything that I had to put into that and all the sacrifices that I made, and the fact that I made that conscious decision to have the courage to rent out my house while my wife was pregnant, okay, and I just left my very, very well-paying job, all for a dream of a better life in Arizona where it's sunny all the time and it's beautiful. And I just had this vision in my mind that I was gonna be able to live a better life and I'd have a better opportunity to not only make more money, but be able to impact people's lives. But I made that decision and I went for it. The thing that was so cool about this whole experience and this whole decision was it wasn't just me that was making this decision. This was my whole family riding on this. And my wife had my back every step of the way. She had this unshakable belief in me and my decision and my ability to lead our family. And she just supported me. She just believed that I was making the right decision. She believed in the path that we were on. And it was because I had painted this picture and this vision of what our life is gonna look like on the other side of this uncomfortable decision. And my wife, she just believed in me. So maybe you have somebody in your life that really believes in you right now and says, honey, go for it. And you're just waiting to make a decision. But I want to encourage you, because if you make that decision, it's going to be hard, but if you have that person in your life that supports you through thick and thin, you will get through it. And on the other side of it is going to be something so much more beautiful than anything you could possibly imagine. Now, this story just shows you that you got to have this shift in your identity before you have proof that you're actually that person. You're future pacing yourself. You're thinking, this is the version of myself that I want to be, and I'm going to operate as if I'm already that person. And that was the decision that I made. I made the decision that I was going to be this person of influence who was coaching people, who was helping thousands of people and changing people's lives. But I knew that it was going to be a journey, and it was going to be on the other side of a difficult decision. But I had already shifted my identity before I even had proof that I was that person. And then just remember, when you burn the boats, all it does is it forces resourcefulness, because you don't have a choice but to make it work. When you burn all the boats and there's no other options, there's no way to turn back, you're gonna get it or you're gonna die trying. It's that simple. So let me ask you guys, what's the border that you guys are stuck at right now, that you're about to cross, that you've been circling back and forth for however long, that you need to finally take courage and freaking cross that border? What is it? Drop a comment below. Tell me what it is. I read every comment.